Students at one school were served pizza containing pork, which is against their religion. 7 News Detroit obtained a letter sent home to parents by district leaders.
The pizza was served to students at OL Middle School over a period of 8 school days and during Ramadan.
7 News Detroit anchor Simon Shaykhet is listening to parents at the school and getting answers from the district.
In this letter to O.L. Smith Middle School parents from Dearborn Schools, the interim superintendent describes a period of 8 school days from February 23rd through March 5th, when 206 servings of pepperoni pizza similar to this, containing a mix of beef and pork, were mistakenly served to students. They say the non-halal food represented 7% of total meals during a typical 8-day time frame, and while there was no malicious intent, the district offers, quote, most sincere apologies and a promise to ensure this does not occur in the future. What was going through your mind as you read that letter?
I just felt really bad that it happened. I felt bad that there were people that had the expectation of having, halal food and that happened.
Some parents I talked to expressing a range of disappointment. This happened during the holy period of Ramadan and violated strict rules against consuming pork as part of their Muslim faith.
That's the main reason we don't eat unhalal food, because it's against our religion. It all has an effect spiritually, physically. It's even not good for a human being.
In the letter, the district identifying steps taken, saying they met with parents and conducted an audit, confirming no other non-halal products were served. Halal includes a specific method of preparing food, with certain food being forbidden to consume. Also, Dearborn Schools implementing mandatory training and new safeguards, adding they've acted swiftly in this matter.
They're wonderful people. They care very deeply about the kids, so I felt bad that this happened to them.
My son, he attended to Old Smith, and I didn't know about that till now, till you told me. It will be the first and the last time, yes. If they apologized, that's enough for us.
Now, the district tells me they are working hard to rebuild trust, and they have also added a second certified halal food provider to their vendor list. From Dearborn, Simon Shaykhet, 7 News Detroit.
Yeah, good thing they jumped right on that. Well,
did you guys hear about...
Now to a menu mix-up.
Salaki for that. Shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasha'Allah, Koholoyim La Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kahakodash, double honors to our apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. And just want to say the water to all the H.I.M and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Shai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan Nawach. It's coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And let's get the law on pork, right? And those Muslims with their Quran, where you think they got that law from? They got that law from the scriptures, because they're Ishmaelites. In that particular city, that's like the largest Muslim, I think, in America. I think that's the largest Muslim community in America. And that's, not too far down the street from where I live. They have their own city. They got their own judges. They got their own courthouses, their own fucking police officers, all this different little stuff. And they get these special treatments. But when it comes to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that have been here far longer than they have, you don't get shit. So why aren't they pushing this on the so-called black schools? Why is it that, see, they'll throw you so-called black because they don't care shit about you. And you believing in idolatrous white Jesus has gotten you, in a lot of fucking trouble, really. Because you believe that you're saved by grace already. Whatever you do, you've already been forgiven for it. But see, these laws, these laws still stand. So let's get the law on pork. And this is where Ishmael got that from, because you have to realize that he comes through. He's a Shemite as well, right? He knew those laws because our forefathers taught them laws. But when they, left and, was put away, so to speak, they still kept those laws. And see, these Americans, they call these people savages, even though they're heathen too. They're going into captivity as well. But they do have a better outlook on the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord than you fucking Edomites that's claiming to be Christians. Because I went into the comment boards And, no one has no, it's just like, just a bunch of silly ass American jokes. So what? You know what I'm saying? We don't care. Go back to your own country. All this other shit, But anyway, because Esau don't give a fuck about no law, statutes, and commandments, man. That's the reason why the Lord is going to deal with them so harshly for putting their hands on these scriptures, man, and not pushing and promoting the laws the way that they're supposed to, So this is the law. Leviticus 11:7, and the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Deuteronomy 14:8. It goes a little further. It says, and the swine, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. We're not even supposed to even touch that shit. But Jake, you got millions of Americans that woke up this morning, they ate the sausages with the bacon, pork links, digestive tract all fucked up, arteries all clogged up, you know what I'm saying? Inflammation just because, let's see. So why would you eat it? Let's, I'm just going to put in do pigs. Yep, and it's a bunch of questions. Somebody put, do pigs eat humans? I wasn't even going to put that. I was going to put, do pigs eat their own poop? Let's see. And we know they'll eat humans. It says, yes, pigs do eat their own poop. A behavior known as corophagy, never heard of that before, while often considered a sign of poor living conditions or lack of food, it is actually a natural behavior that helps them, particularly piglets, recycle nutrients like vitamin B and establish a healthy gut microbiome. Slack if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Right? But why would you eat something that'll eat their own shit? So now let's go back since they had that human in there. Let's do. They say that gangsters, you know what I'm saying? That's the reason why these gangsters they keep a pig farm, right? Because a pig would demolish a body. Let's So why would you eat something that'll eat a human? Let's see though. It says, yep, pigs are opportunists, basically. Omnivores that will eat human remains if given the opportunity. While they do not typically hunt humans, they have been documented consuming people who were already deceased and incapacitated, right? It says pigs can consume nearly an entire human body, including soft tissue, and smaller bones. However, they generally cannot digest larger human bones, right? Teeth or hair, which are often the only remains that are left behind. See? So why the fuck would you eat something that will eat a human? Because we know that Esau, he will eat a human. There's the scriptures document, us going into captivities and or being sieged in, so to speak, and that we've eaten our own children as well. But that's just a part of the law, you know what I'm saying, where it says don't eat, the swine or even touch the swine, because it's basically, it's like a vacuum of the earth, man. They're to keep things, certain parts of the earth clean, man. They're not to be consumed. But see, you got these Christians, they'll use the scriptures, they'll use, matter of fact, let's go into it. With the Peter situation, where the Lord told Peter to rise, kill and eat, basically. Let me see. And not understanding that scripture. There's a few scriptures that, these Christians or these people use. Basically, they say the law is done away with. But not understanding that what's being said is the Lord fulfilled the things that was said of him would be fulfilled. Not that the law, you don't think that the Lord kept the law. Matter of fact, he said not one jot or one tittle. Let's get that real quick. Verse 17, Matthew 5:17. It says, think not. Now, this is right out of the Lord's mouth, red letter, which his name is Yahweh Shai. But see, when they get to, They get to teaching you or preaching in the name of sweet white baby idolatrous Jesus. Anything goes. That's a different vibration. That's a different vibe when it comes to the Lord Yahushua. See? Yahushua. That's the true name of the Son, which means that he's the Savior or deliverer in the Paleo Hebrew. And if he was walking the earth today, he would be a so-called black man. Not this blonde-haired, blue-eyed, hippie-looking, tranny-looking God that you're accustomed to seeing. And the true name of the Father is Yahweh, which means that he exists or the existing one. Because these Christians, they'll tell you that the law is done away with, but at the same time, too, you know, you'll be arrested for killing somebody. Well, that's a part of the law. Right? Thou shalt not steal. You steal somebody's shit, Esau come and throw you in the back of his squad car. That's a law. But you know what laws he don't keep? Adultery. These women are able to just run throughout the planet, hot rod to rod, and do everything that they want. You know, so Esau is very hypocritical. He shouldn't be touching these scriptures at all, man. That's that Psalms 50 and 16 where it talks about what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, and that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, since thou castest my words behind thee. What are you doing with the Bible? You don't keep nothing that's in the Bible. Right? But let's get what the Lord said. Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And basically what was fulfilled was what was written of him. See? And it amplifies, it says, do not think that I came to do away with or undo the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For I assure you, and most solemnly say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or the stroke of the pen will pass from the law until all things which it foreshadows are accomplished. Right? So the earth hasn't passed away. So the law's still in play. You think the Lord was just down here on the planet, he was eating pork chops and shit? You think the Lord was waking up every morning and he had a bacon sandwich? The fuck out of here, man. It says, so whosoever breaks one of the least important of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least important in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches them, he will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. See? For I say to you that unless your righteousness, upright, moral essence is more than that of the scribes and Pharisees, you would never enter into the kingdom of heaven. But the point is that the law is not done away with, man. It's common sense to not eat some shit that's going to give you high blood pressure. Come on, bro. It's common sense to not eat something that will clog up your arteries. Now, these other countries or these other ethnicities, they can eat that shit and it don't bother them like that. But when it comes to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you Israelites, it bothers you because the Lord created you differently. And you're breaking that law. That's why a lot of our people are in such bad shape, man. They can't get, like my dad and them, you know, I got uncles, you know, they you know, and every time my dad comes by, it seems like he say it every single time. Because he always be there, yeah, I'm going to go make some dinner. He always says the same quote. I know you don't eat pork, but I'm about to, I don't even talk with him about it no more. You know? I know you don't eat pork, because he knows how I feel about it. But that he'll say that it's almost, he said, I see him like once or twice a week or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whenever he comes by, whatever. He always says that. I know you don't eat pork, but I'm going home. I got some cubed ham. I got this. I got that. I'm going to put together. I got some leftover pork chop, you know, all that shit. And I don't even, you know, I just be like, okay, all right, well, you know, I'll see you later, you know, whatever. Used to get, you know, a little hot about it, but I don't even get hot about it no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, go ahead. Do what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? And that, you know, one of my uncles, I've been eating pork all my life. You ain't done nothing. Yeah, but no, your health is not good, though. Anyway, I was going to get that one where they try and use the one with, let me see. And they never actually read through the entire chapter of this. It's 11:44:2. Call Lo Yim Yahweh Bashem Yahweh. And the time on the clock landed right with that. That's crazy. Let me see. How is it worded? Acts chapter 10, right? So, and this is what they try and use. You got a lot of Christians they try and use. See, you can eat anything. There's one of them, though. Let me start from verse 9. I'll read this. Let's read this in the Amplified, too. It says, Acts 10 and 9. The next day, as they were on their way and were approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof of the house about the 6th hour, noon, to pray. But he became hungry and wanted something to eat. While the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance. And he saw the sky open up, and an object like a great sheet descending, lowered by its four corners to the earth. And it contained all kinds of four-footed animals and crawling creatures of the earth and birds of the air. A voice came to him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." But Peter said, "Not at all, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is uncommon, unholy, and ceremonially unclean." And the voice came to him a second time, "What God has cleansed and pronounced clean, no longer consider common, unholy." So this is the scripture that they'll use. But they don't understand that this is going in, that's a metaphor, basically. It's going off into the Gentiles, the people of the Lord, the Israelites that were being, that was pretty much cast out or separated from, the Jews that were actually still keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. They were kind of looked down upon, but these were Israelites. And this is one of the reasons why the Lord was coming, to put the kingdom back together. This is what this is going into. And so it says this happened 3 times, and then immediately the object was taken up into heaven. Now Peter was still perplexed and completely at a loss as to what his vision could mean when the men who had been sent by Cornelius, because Cornelius is an Israelite, but they try and make it seem, see, the Gentiles can be saved. No, Cornelius, his family were Israelites, man. It says, having asked directions to Simon's house, arrived at the gate, and they called out to ask whether Simon, who was also called Peter, was staying there. While Peter was thoughtfully considering the vision, the Spirit said to him, "Now listen, 3 men are looking for you. Get up, go downstairs, and go with them without hesitating or doubting, because I have sent them myself." Peter went down to the men and said, "I am the one you are looking for. For what reason have you come?" They said, "Cornelius, a centurion, Salakia, an upright and God-fearing man," because these fucking Edomites are not. This is not a so-called white man here. Esau is not upright in nothing, man. It says, an upright, God-fearing man, well-spoken by all the Jewish people, was divinely instructed by the holy angels to send for you to come to his house and to hear what you have to say. So Peter invited them in and gave them lodging for the night. The next day Peter got up and left with them, and some of the brothers from Joppa went with him. I wanted to just get to the point of what that was actually being spoken of when the Lord said, "Rise up, kill and eat." Okay, so here you go. Right, let me see. Let me jump down here to verse 28. I'm still in the Amplified. It says, he said to them, "You know that it is unlawful for a Jewish man to associate with or befriend a Gentile, because Israelites were living like Gentiles, where they were outside of the system of the Israelite commonwealth, so to speak, for lack of better terms." It says, or to visit him. "Yet God has shown me that I am not to call anyone common or ceremonially unclean." See, this is going off into the people. This is going into people, man. Wasn't talking about you can go and fucking eat every damn thing. Come on, bro. But this is one of the scriptures that they like to use. And then they use the one on the shambles. Let me see. See, you can eat whatever you want. Trying to think how that's worded. So like, bear with me. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 10 and 25. Let me see, though. Let me get a little bit of it. As a matter of fact, the Amplified is, let's get it in the Amplified. 1 Corinthians 10 and 25. It says, regarding meat offered to idols, this is what this is going into. meat that was lawful meats that Israelites could eat that was offered to idols because these other nations, they would pray in the name of their God, over, beef or, whatever was, fish, lawful things that Israelites could actually eat. These people, these other nations, would pray to their gods over it. And that had nothing to do with us, you know what I'm saying? We know that the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua created all things, you know what I'm saying? So, we were allowed to eat those things, even though those other nations prayed over it to their gods. It didn't matter to us because we know that their gods are nothing but fucking idols, right? So it's going to go into that. Let's get verse 25 again. It says, regarding meat, 1 Corinthians 10 and 25 in the Amplified, regarding meat offered to idols, eat anything that is sold in the market, in the meat market, see? Without asking any questions for the sake of your conscience. So you ain't going to ask them, hey, did you pray over this to your God, whatever God? We ain't even to ask them that. We don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying, man? Let me get that right there. You know what I'm saying? We going to go to the crib. We going to whip that shit up. We going to pray over it in the name of our Father, our Heavenly Father, the Most High, Yahweh, in the name of his Son, Yahushua, and we good. We don't give a fuck about your false-ass gods, man. Okay? But it says, for the whole earth is the Lord's and everything that is in it. So there were Israelites that knew this. I bet I gotta make a move in a sec here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a move. I'm at the plantation. Anyway, but let's go on, because I still gotta wait a little bit before these guys come off lunch. It says, if one of the unbelievers invites you to a meal at his home and you want to go, eat whatever is served to you without asking questions about its source for the sake of your conscience. So say you got a, you got a favorite auntie. She invites you over. And you like, okay, well, bet, I'm going to go over there, because auntie can't cook shit. You know what I'm saying? She doing some oxtails. She doing this or that. A lawful food. You go and get you a damn plate, man. You eat, and you're not worried about the whether it was prayed over in the name of sweet white baby Jesus, because a lot of our people, that's an idol. They will pray over food in the name of sweet white baby Jesus. We don't give a fuck about that. Hey, let me get my, my lawful food to go, or you can sit and eat, and it is what it is. You ain't got to go through, you get over. That's why the scripture talks about not being over righteous, or, not, just keeping it simple. We understand that the Lord God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, created all things, and it's all, the lawful meats that he told, because we got the law. Again, we just read that Yahushua, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus, he said that not one jot or one tittle, shall pass from the law. Again, you think the Lord was really walking around eating abominable foods and shit? That's stupid, bro. Anyway. Okay, again, verse 27, it says, 1 Corinthians 10 and 27 in the Amplified again, if one of the unbelievers invites you to a meal at his home and you want to go, eat whatever is served to you without asking questions about its source for the sake of your conscience. But if anyone says to you, this meat has been offered in sacrifice to an idol, do not eat it out of consideration for the one who told you and for conscience sake, right? So if they not mentioning it, we're not to even ask. It's that, we know the food is lawful, But now if they tell you, you know what I'm saying, for example, hey, well, we prayed over this in the name of sweet white baby Jesus. So for them to know, like, hey, look, nah, you know what, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Because that's that, you may explain to them the scriptures. Hey, that's an idol, for their sakes. Because now you have a chance to pretty much overall minister to them and say, hey, nah, white Jesus is a false god. It's an idol. You know what I'm saying? And no, I'm not going to eat anything in the name of your God. You know what I'm saying? But if they never mention it, then you just, you just get the food, you pray over it, in the name of, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and you just keep it moving. It's really very simple, man. But it says, but if anyone says to you, this meat has been offered in sacrifice to an idol, do not eat it out of consideration for the one who told you and for conscience sake. And by conscience, I mean for the sake of the other man's, not yours. For why is my freedom of choice judged by another's conscience, another ethnics, another sense of right or wrong? If I take my share of food with thankfulness, why am I accused because of something for which I give thanks? So then, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all in the glory of our great God. See? So it's really very simple, man. But I just saw that story to be interesting because those are Ishmaelites, and they have a better dietary. They live a lot better, even though they're heathen. They live a lot better than you doofy ass Americans. You Americans are stupid, man. But yet you're running around with the Bible. You got the Bible in your hand. You screaming white Jesus. Matter of fact, let me end with that one I quoted in Psalms. And you, Jake, y'all follow right along with this man. Every damn commercial you see on fucking TV, especially with these playoffs going on, everything got goddamn swine on it. Psalms 50 and 16. But unto the wicked, and you know what, too, with those Ishmaelites, don't get me wrong, too, because some of that, I've gone to a place in their community, they generally, and I asked them about their halal. And one of the guys was telling me, you know what I'm saying, about, I'm assuming they got pork, too, as well. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Because, I was going to their community thinking like, all right, well, maybe I can get some, this, or this. And these Israelites, they're not all on this kick because they eat pork too. A bunch of them are Americanized. You know what I'm saying? So, they're into a lot of that shit too. But anyway, Psalms 50 and 16, it says, but unto the wicked, Yahweh saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee. Like, what are you doing with the Bible? These Americans, man. Because like I said, I was going through the comment boards, and you could tell they more than likely Edomites. Probably some Jake in there too. But they don't have no respect for these people actually trying to keep that law. Boo-hoo. You know what I'm saying? But that's that Esau, he eats every goddamn thing. Because he was eating Jake. He was eating Negroes when there was no food shortage. There's accounts of Edomites during slavery. They was eating us, man. So this man is a damn cannibal by nature. You see the Epstein files, they was talking about these motherfuckers eating babies. Come on, bro. So you Edomites are being exposed on a lot of levels, man. So with that, I pray that the lesson was edifying. I'm at the plantation, got to make a couple of moves. But with that, Shalom, Kwame Yashala, and a bubble ball.